Welcome to the Animated Apparel Company YouTube channel. I'm your host, Russell Crooms, and in today's video, we will be going over the history of the Marvel Comics team, the New Warriors. The recent Marvel trailer for the upcoming New Warriors comic has a lot of controversy surrounding it, and you don't need us to tell you why that is. There are literally hundreds of videos on YouTube addressing this, but we wanted to give you guys a different take and talk about the original incarnation of the New Warriors. The New Warriors were made back in the early 90s, and this video will help to explain why the New Warriors is one of the most underrated comics and why you should give it a chance. Now, before we talk about the characters that made the original team, we need to talk to you a little bit about the concept itself. The New Warriors made their first appearance as a team in the pages of the Mighty Thor issue 411, as a cameo in issue 412, both in 1989 during the Acts of Vengeance crossover event where the God of Thunder is facing the X-Men villain the Juggernaut. The creators of the team were Tom DeFalco and artist Ron Frenz, who were interested in creating a superhero team consisting of teenagers to appeal to a younger audience. Now, the first issue of the New Warriors title came out in July of 1990, and just like the cover says, they were heroes made for the 90s, establishing a solid fan base and becoming somewhat of a cult favorite throughout the years, spawning a lot of quality storylines and a very good run that basically launched the careers of writer Fabian Nicieza, mostly known as the co-creator of Deadpool, and artist Mark Bagley, who has become one of the most essential Spider-Man artists of all time. This is what Nicieza had to say about his original goal with the New Warriors in an interview with the Cosmic Cube blog back in 2018. I really just wanted it to be what it was meant to be, Marvel's version of Teen Titans. I wanted to tell fun, exciting stories grounded in the Marvel Universe using these great untapped characters that hold a world of potential. It is also worth pointing out that Nicieza had no say in the lineup for the original New Warriors. Tom DeFalco and Ron Frenz had developed their vision of the team, who the characters were going to be, and it was up to Nicieza, an up-and-coming writer at Marvel, to develop them through their own books. What Nicieza did have an influence on was choosing the artist for the project. He selected Mark Bagley, who was back then an unknown artist that was mostly doing fill-in work for the main Marvel books and stuff for the New Universe imprint in the mid to late 80s. Nicieza saw that stuff, my artwork, and saw the potential such that it is, and being the insightful young Argentinian that he is, he bugged Danny Fingermouth, the editor, to give me the New Warriors, and I think it worked out pretty well. Bagley said in an interview with Comic Book Resources back in 2000. What was interesting about the New Warriors was not only the teenage angle to appeal to younger readers, but also the fact that the team was mostly made up of characters that were not that popular. Since Marvel didn't know what to do with them, it was a really smart move to get all these young heroes together and make a much stronger series with all of them combined. Ironically enough, the only character that was created specifically for the book was the team leader Night Thrasher, also known as Dwayne Michael Taylor. Night Thrasher was the leader of the Taylor Foundation and used a part of those resources to train himself in multiple fighting styles and develop different gadgets that allow him to fight crime. He doesn't have any superpowers, but his intellect and resolute personality made him a natural choice to lead the team, and he was actually the one that gathered them all to create the New Warriors. Perhaps one of the most interesting members of the team was Nova, a struggling high school student named Richard Rider. He was created by writer Marv Wolfman and artist John Romita Sr. back in 1976 as a young man chosen to become a member of the Nova Corps of the planet of Xandar, who fight to protect the living from multiple threats. But at the time we find Richard in the New Warriors series, he has relinquished his role as Nova and has gone through different trials in the series in order to gain that status once again and prove his worth not only as a superhero but also as a young man who was lacking in responsibility. In terms of publication history, Namorita is the oldest character in the team, her being created in 1972 by legendary artist and writer Bill Everett and appearing in Submariner issue number 50. She is from the family of Namor and shares a lot of his powers, such as the ability to adapt to the ocean and flight, thanks to the little wings on her ankles. She also has superhuman strength and durability. Surrounded by a group of teenagers in the New Warriors, she often wanted to play tough, but she started to develop feelings for Richard Rider, and they eventually ended up having a relationship. Robbie Baldwin, also known as Speedball, was quickly established as a comedic member of the team and the most lighthearted character in the whole series. The character was originally created by Spider-Man co-creator Steve Ditko during his return to Marvel in the late 80s. And beyond his force-field generating powers, he is mostly known for being a bit of a jokester, often messing around and not taking things too seriously, which originally made people lose interest in his solo series. But once Tanza took the character into the New Warriors, he managed to balance that with Speedball's insecurities and make him a very interesting counterweight to the rest of the team. Perhaps the most complex character of the team in terms of history is Vance Astrovic, mostly known in the New Warriors lore as Marvel Boy, but he has also gone through other names such as Justice, Marvel Man, and others, created by legends Don Heck and Jerry Conway. When he was a teenager, Vance got a visit from a future version of himself that leads the Guardians of the Galaxy of the 30th century, prompting him to change his dreams of being an astronaut, and the latter starts developing his telekinetic powers in the former, kick-starting his adventures as a superhero in Giant Science Defenders number 5 back in 1975. And that's about as simple as an origin story we can tell about Marvel Boy, who quickly joined the New Warriors to make a name for himself due to the fact that the Avengers rejected his application for the team. Last but certainly not least, we have Angelica Jones, also known as Firestar. She's a very interesting case because she was originally created for the Spider-Man animated series of the 80s, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, and later on made her first appearance as a mutant in the X-Men comics. Despite efforts for a solo miniseries and attempts to establish her in the comics due to the show's popularity, the character never truly caught on until joining the New Warriors, where her and her fire-based mutant powers quickly became a fan favorite among comic book readers. The New Warriors were not only phenomenal superhero stories with great action and outstanding artwork by young Mark Bagley, but due to the fact that these were not very popular characters, Tanza was given free rein to develop them as he saw fit, and that allowed for some of the most interesting plots in 90s Marvel, such as Time and Time Again and the Sphinx crossover event, Family Values, which introduces superhero Elvin Holiday Rage and his story to overcome the loss of his grandmother that raised him in joining the team, or the memorial Nothing But the Truth, which dealt with Night Thrasher leaving the team to join their rivals, the Folding Circle, and Vance turning himself in and going through a trial due to him murdering his own father. The original 75-issue run is a cult favorite and one of the more underrated comic book series in the history of the genre, with Fabian Nicieza being the mastermind behind some of the most important developments in these characters' histories. Whether it was with Mark Bagley or future artist of The Boys, Derek Robertson, Nicieza was always the one that kept the story going, and he gave the New Warriors a degree of growth that became the groundwork for other writers to seize. That is how we got Vance and Firestar's engagement and them becoming members of the Avengers during Kurt Busiek's iconic run. Night Thrasher became a fan favorite as far as Marvel's street heroes go, Namorita became a fully independent character to Namor in her own right, and Nova became responsible and committed hero and man, as it was shown in the incredible Annihilation event in the mid-2000s. By the end of Niciza's run, these were no longer kids, but young men and women that learned from their experiences and became much more mature and responsible in their roles as superheroes, which is something very few writers can brag about. Whether the 2020 version of the New Warriors is going to be good or not, we can't really say. There has been a very negative reception from the fans with the recent trailer, and Marvel should pay attention to that. But regardless of that, the 90s version of the New Warriors is an era that deserves to be celebrated and deserves to be enjoyed. So if you want really cool, fun, and really compelling superhero stories, do yourself a favor and buy these comics. That's it for the video today, guys. I really hope you've enjoyed it. If you did, please give this video a like and comment below and let us know what comic book characters you'd like to see the history of next. I will also leave a link in the description if you'd like to support this channel through our online store or via our Patreon. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I'm out.